Well, welcome back to Steve Robb Reviews. Today, I'm going to explain to you how easy it is to figure out if you have a no start on your vehicle, what you should do, and you can follow along on YouTube. And it's so easy to fix your vehicles these days by just watching a YouTube video like you're watching right now. And you're going to get the silver bullet on how to fix your car or truck so easily by just following these steps. They're so easy. All you need is one of these and something else. I'm going to go over it right now. Let's go inside the shop. Let's have a little bit of a chat. Okay, so you're on YouTube and you search, car won't start, no start, all kinds of different search engines, and you're looking for that silver bullet, and all you got is like a digital multimeter. Well, how easier can it be than just do a little bit of a search on YouTube, and you're going to find all kinds of hits on no start. Well, I'm going to tell you a perfect example of what not to do and what happened this week with me. The customer just left right now and he was some upset. Okay, a week ago, this guy shows up at my place, referred by a friend of a friend of a friend, and said, I hear you work on vehicles on the side. And I said, no, not really. I just usually work on my friends' vehicles or family. And he goes, oh, I was looking to find out some information on how to learn how to diagnose vehicles myself, and I'm quite interested in it. And I thought, okay, I thought for sure the guy's going to ask me if I would fix his vehicle. So what does he do? He says, how did you learn? And I said, well, of course, back then there was no YouTube. So I read books and talked to friends and family members and everybody else, and you learn as you go along. And I'm the furthest thing from a professional automotive technician as you could get. And he says, so what do you recommend? And I said, well, you can go and read books, you can go to the library, or you can watch YouTube. I think there's a lot of great people on YouTube, and you can learn from them. It's free, it's hands-on experience, and I think it's a great, format to learn from. So he goes, you got anybody you'd recommend? So I said, yeah. So I give him a couple of names from YouTube, guys that I know, and off he went. And I thought that was pretty well it. So the fella comes back today, and he's driving this Chevy truck. Like, it's a late model truck. Like, it looks pretty new to me, but he said it's not under warranty. And so he comes up the driveway and he says, now remember, this is only within a week. He said, well, I went and started watching your friends you told me about YouTube, and you could pretty well search anything on how to fix anything on YouTube. So I said, yeah. He goes, well, my truck wouldn't start. I said, well, when was this? He goes, last week when I was talking to you. So I says, okay. So I went and took a look at these YouTube videos you're telling me about. And so I said, yeah. So he says, his truck didn't start. So I guess he figured out that if the truck don't start off at the battery. And that's what he did. He started off at the battery, found out battery's no good. So he replaced the battery. This guy was on the ball though. He was pretty sharp because he was watching the guys that I told him. And he said, don't just assume that it's only the battery, because it could be a lot of other things. It's not just always the battery. Well, in this particular case, the battery was no good. So the truck starts up, and he thought, okay, what killed the battery? Now, the guy I sent him to is very thorough, and he asks all these kind of questions all the time. What if? Lots of variables. So he goes, well, the alternator was no good either. I said, wow, isn't that amazing? The alternator was no good. How'd you figure that out? Well, he says, started the truck up, took it out for a drive, come back, and took a reading with the multimeter. Took a reading, and it was about 12.8. I said, well, it seems reasonable to me. Started the truck up, didn't budge. Still the same thing, around 12.8, never moved, never did nothing. Figured, okay, bad alternator. And I says, I don't know about that. So he goes, so took that alternator out. He went and got a rebuilt alternator. Put that alternator in. shows up at my place asking me, why is the light on the dash for the alternator? And I says, I don't know. He says, he says he was watching these YouTube videos, and he followed all the steps and everything. And I says, why do you think your alternator was no good? So he asked me to demonstrate on my truck, because his truck, it runs, but it's got the light on the dash. So I go to my truck, my Silverado, and I lift up the hood and I show him. Mine was like 12.4. I start the truck up, goes out to about 14.8. That's what it's supposed to do. And I go, well, on my truck it does. Doesn't mean it's going to be on your truck. I said, who did you watch? Right? So he told me, and he says, well, did he have your vehicle in his place when he's doing the job, diagnosing the alternator? No, it was a Cavalier. I'm going, oh my God. I said, you can't correlate doing all these checks on a Cavalier when you have a Silverado. One car is 20 years old and yours is about 4. You got a car and a truck. Goes, well, what's the difference? And I said, and I'm thinking to myself, does this happen all the time on YouTube? I mean, I have run across so many people who don't watch any automotive videos, but when their car breaks down, they want to find that silver bullet of just Googling a particular situation and then finding Shazam! That's the problem and it's all solved. So I says, I'm not an expert on automotive technology. I know lots of guys who are very sharp, and if you would have asked me, I could have asked them. But to tell you the truth, just because you look at a static voltage on your battery and then start the truck up and it doesn't increase, doesn't mean your alternator's no good. Now, I haven't actually ran across one of them yet. I don't work on newer vehicles in the first place, but I do a lot of reading. And as far as I know, there is systems out there on newer vehicles where the alternator is computer controlled, and you're not going to always get your alternator working all the time. And you can go out there and test it, and it's not going to be over 14, because a lot of these older vehicles, yeah, they used to say, maybe between 13.9 and 14.9, somewhere around there. After you start the vehicle, you could see that the alternator was charging, right? Well, on the newer vehicles today, apparently not. I'm not an expert on it. To tell you the truth, I have not seen a video myself explaining it and showing that diagnostic where you look at the static voltage and you start the vehicle up and it doesn't move and the person says, that alternator is perfectly fine. I haven't seen it yet. All I've done was read a lot of documentation on the newer vehicles, and some alternators, as far as I understand, are computer controlled, and you will get that happen sometime. So now he doesn't know what to do. So I told him, I said, look, if you can, go back and get your alternator, because that's probably a $600 alternator. Might be nothing wrong with it. I said, test it first, or get some good advice, because the alternator you have in there now, and this guy paid like $160 for that alternator. So what are you going to get for $160, right? And I don't like a lot of these rebuilt aftermarket Yahoo stuff. So this is where he is today. And I said, see if you can go back and get your alternator back and give them back their alternator. And I don't know what you're going to do, but let me know and find out for yourself. I said, you just can't watch a YouTube video that doesn't apply to your vehicle and say, checking for a no start applies to every vehicle out there. There's so many variables when it comes to watching a YouTube video. It's not like watching a cooking show where you can see as somebody's, putting in the recipes, you're going to get a result at the end. But watching a YouTube video, you have to realize that a lot of these people have thousands of dollars invested in their equipment, thousands of dollars worth of training, years of experience. It's not so easy to just go on YouTube and Google, no start, how to fix your vehicle and go through all the processes if you don't have the exact same vehicle, the same year, the same model, the same engine, same everything else. So this is what I tried to explain to him. Now, he wasn't too happy. He thought that maybe, you know, the person I referred him to should put a disclaimer in there that this only applies to some vehicles and your alternator may not, you know, show the same. And I was saying, well, you know, the disclaimer is he's actually showing the vehicle he's working on, not the vehicle that you have. So there is a lot of people that watch a YouTube video and they're looking for the silver bullet. You know, they're not watching this, you know, this person's channel, you know, all the time. They just stumble across it and they figure, okay, I'm going to get some free advice, and sometimes the free advice costs you a fortune. So I don't know where this is going to go, but there's a lot of terrific automotive technicians that I know, and I'd be very interested to find out if what my beliefs are right or not. Because at least what I've read about the late model Silverados, yes, I don't know all the models and everything else, whether it applies to a diesel or just gas. He had a gas, and what engines and everything else. But as far as I've read, yeah, you're not going to always get that bump up when you know, check the vehicle from starting and not starting, and you know, and this kind of stuff. So I'd be interested to find out, you know, from you guys whether you know for sure. And have you ever seen a video showing this? I haven't seen one, but like I say, I've read about it, and you know, reading about it is one thing. Having experience and lots of knowledge is a whole nother ballgame. So when you're watching a YouTube video and you're looking for this silver bullet on automotive repair, be very careful of what you're doing, because at least ask a question in the comment section below and save yourself a lot of headaches. So I just thought I'd bring up this interesting set of events that happened to me and pass it on to you. And thanks for joining me here today. If you haven't seen this channel before, you're welcome to subscribe. And you never learned how to fix a no start, but you learned what not to do on YouTube. Cheers.